The one where Nagelberg and I understand each other on a spiritual level. Before going to my friend Nagelberg's place tonight, I stopped by the Haight Street Whole Foods and asked a white kid with dreadlocks who worked there if they had any horchata. The clerk looked at my mouth instead of my eyes as I talked, which made me uncomfortable. And then he said, let's go check the soy milk aisle. And I followed him. I was a little nervous because I had just stolen a kumquat from the kumquat display for Nagelberg. Because if you ask me, everyone should be surprised with the freshly stolen organic kumquat from time to time. In that same coat pocket, I had also brought a small scentless votive candle to give to her. You never know when the next big earthquake is going to hit, and I hate to imagine my friends in the dark. On the way, we walked by a wall of cage-free eggs, which didn't make any sense. Presumably, the chickens are cage-free, not the eggs. I imagined thousands of eggs walking around a large yard and chuckled to myself. There's no such thing as cage-free eggs, I said to the clerk. Excuse me, he said. Nothing, never mind, I said. In the soy milk aisle, the kid sighed and explained that the Whole Foods in Potrero Hill had all sorts of horchata, but they didn't seem to have any here. No horchata? I yelled. What kind of Bush League third world Whole Foods is this? He gave me what seemed to be a sincere apology, but I'm not sure because I have a hard time telling the difference between sincerity and sarcasm these days. I smiled sincerely, and the kid looked at my mouth again, so I imagined what it would be like to kiss him. And after deciding it might not be too bad, he said something about how much he loved hemp milk, and I said, whatever. When I got to Nagelberg's house and gave her the kumquat and the candle, she said, thank you. Did you know that you eat the whole kumquat, she asked, skin and everything? I said, yes, but the truth is I've never actually eaten a kumquat. No one has ever given me one. Then she said, that's funny. The candle I was just trying to light is all burnt out. And she went ahead and lit the new one I had just given her. I laughed because I could never light a candle that way. All mine are still on reserve for the next disaster. The one where I realize I'm doing it all wrong. Yesterday, Nagelberg and I were talking about men, and for some reason the helicopter came up. What's the helicopter? She asked. You don't know what the helicopter is? I was stunned. How could a pretty girl like Nagelberg have gone her whole adult life without running into a helicopter or two? It's when a guy grabs his penis at the base and swings it around like a propeller. You know, like a helicopter. I demonstrated with my imaginary dick and made that sound of a helicopter. Suddenly, I realized how much I was enjoying myself and then instantly hated myself for corroborating Freudian psychology. Never seen it, she shrugged. If I had a dime for every time I'd been chased around a living room by a man doing a helicopter, I said, I'd have enough money to pay for an hour of metered parking in San Francisco. Well, she said, I must not be dating the right types of guys. Sure, I said, the right types of guys. The one where we learn French. The other Saturday night, I attended a Bastille Day party at the W Hotel. Despite plans for a girls' night and guaranteeing drinking and stories about sex and the men we'd been having it with, my typical enthusiasm for these activities eluded me. I'd spent the afternoon wandering around naked in my apartment, as I am wont to do, repeating the word Bastille to myself, Bastille, thinking about that time in Paris 6 years ago when I was berated by a crepe vendor for using incorrect conjugation. I paused to check my reflection in the mirror, Bastille, remembering how inadequate he'd made me feel. That evening, Nagelberg and I got ready together the way we always do. I coated my lips in gloss and complained about the lack of fish in the sea lately. Nagelberg said it sounded like a good night for a swim. I told her I hadn't been interested, and she said she found that hard to believe. We arrived at the hotel before the other girls and headed for the bar. Chandeliers, martini glasses, a $3 cone check. Nothing like the hollow wood of the spaces I prefer to hunker down in. Two models in white poof wigs and thigh highs offered us Mardi Gras beads or plastic skimmer hats, all of which generated an immediate internal list of shitty things to say. But I corked it because the disparities didn't seem to bother anyone else. Crammed elbow to elbow, waiting for the bartender, I heard a hard sniff, then another, and realized the suit and tie behind me was doing blow off his house key. I could see the flex of his jaw and the tension in his teeth, and for a moment I missed one of my ex-boyfriends. I considered ordering a stiff drink, but settled on champagne, suddenly in need of a prop more than a buzz. Nagelberg got water. A gamey fellow mistook our smiles as an opportunity to grind his pelvis in our general direction. I yelled over the techno that I'd seen an episode of The Deadliest Catch the night before. Something about the way the boats got swallowed by the waves. Nagelberg told me to knock it off and suggested we wander. We headed towards the photo area, drawn like bugs to the bulb. "I'm the photographer," said a short, fat man, gesturing to black bags of equipment on the floor. "Do you want your picture taken?" Behind him on the thinly carpeted floor was a large bed draped in red and white sheets. Not a pair to hesitate, Nagelberg and I kicked off our shoes and climbed on. We arched our backs and batted our lashes at the camera. "Lift your chins," the fat man ordered. "Touch your hair." When it was over, Nagelberg rolled off in search of her shoes. I curled around a pillow and closed my eyes to watch the electrical parade of floaters swimming across my lids from the flash. I could feel the photographer sit down on the edge of the bed. "I do professional boudoir photography," he said, hitting the bee hard enough to blow a wisp of hair from my face. "Boudoir," I cooed, the word betraying the scowl on my face. Just then, the rest of the girls arrived like a perfume missile of clicking heels and swinging ponytails. One of my friends pecked the photographer on one cheek, then the other. "Brilliant," she said. "I see you've met." "You two know each other?" I asked. "Oh, yes," she said, wrapping a long arm around him. "He is the one who invited us." The one where Nagelberg and I deal with the cage-free egg issue once and for all. The other day, Nagelberg called me and told me to come with her to find some new clothes at the mall. I didn't want to, but I had to acknowledge that I'd been wearing the same dowdy black khakis and blue sweatshirt several days now, and it would be a good idea to go shopping out of the need for something new rather than something practical. When we got there, Nagel said the big, noisy, confusing maze of a mall made her feel anxious. And as we looked at the giant 5-level, color-coded map for a bit of orientation, I realized after 29 years of avoiding malls because they're banal, coffin-esque, and full of bag-toters who think that buying whatever they want is the same thing as freedom, they also make me feel anxious as well. "Let's head for the elevator," I said, steering us towards Nordstrom. Once again, I was trying not to think about the true definition of cage-free eggs. So I said, "Apparently maxi dresses are all the rage right now." "A Nazi dress? That's absurd," Nagelberg said. "No, Nagel, a maxi dress," I said, and pointed out one from the no less than 8 girls toddling around in the long summer sheath. "Whew," she said, clearly relieved. And then we laughed like maniacs, just like we always do. "That's a dumb name. Sounds like maxi pad." "Can you even imagine," I said, "a Nazi dress? I don't care how hip they get. I'm not wearing a Nazi dress." "Seriously," she agreed. Then we found her some jeans, and I bought a new sweater, and we went for dinner at our favorite place and had drinks at the Libertine where drunk guys hit on us even though we weren't wearing maxi dresses. And in the end, it was the kind of night that reminds you everything is all right, even if cage-free eggs are anything but. Thank you.